Welcome to Big Blend Radio's Soul Diving Sunday show featuring transformational life coach Shelley Whizin and your hosts Lisa and Nancy. Hey everybody, welcome to Big Blend Radio's Soul Diving Sunday with Shelley Whizin. Today we are going to be talking about setting boundaries. No, does that mean we have to build a wall? Maybe not. Maybe we're going to build a garden fence and grow some flowers and protect them and nurture them. Maybe that's what it's about. I think what Shelley's talking about in her article, it's all about embracing humanity. Her article is up on blendradioandtv.com. The link is in the episode notes, as is Shelley's website, which is shelleywizin.com. How are you, Miss Shelley?
I'm well. Thank you very much. How are you?
I'm ready to, set some boundaries. I love this topic because I
Yeah.
think even the way you wrote the article, it just, I loved it because, when you think set boundaries, it's like, you've crossed the line, you've built the wall, you can't come in, I think life experiences, we learn to set boundaries and say, okay, that didn't serve me well, but it doesn't, you just know that and you live your life by that. And when you live your life by certain things, like, I have an interesting set of language that I don't always use on the podcast, right? But I have friends that don't care, and then I have friends it offends. So when I'm at their house and with them, I do not use that language at all
Mhm.
because I know it makes them not happy,
Right.
uncomfortable. So they have their boundaries just by their actions saying they don't like it. They don't say, Lisa, stop it. They just
Right.
kind of act without doing that.
Yeah.
So I don't
Yeah.
because I'm in their home space. You don't do it.
Yeah.
Is that a boundary? What would you say of that?
Yeah. Okay. So if you put your arms out, right, all the way out,
Yay.
can't see
We.
my arms all the way
Oh,
out.
that was interesting. Apparently I've, okay. I do shave my armpits.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a that's an energy boundary,
Okay.
right? Because it goes to the tip of our fingers. That's about as far as that we can extend physically. All
Mm.
right. So this
You're
is
reminding me of prom and the teacher and the ruler.
ah, oh, that's right. Oh, that's funny.
Are we that? Yeah.
Well, when we had the
Back in
pandemic,
the
we had
day.
to stay 6 feet away. So, but if you look at our energy field in what we exude and what we bring and what we bring in, our energy field physically is around here, but our energy field goes out. It's like water.
Mhm.
If you put a drop of something in the water, a pebble, there's a drop, and then that ripple goes out and out and out and out and out beyond the drop. We're the
Mhm.
drop. We're the drop in the ocean, but we have a ripple that
Mhm.
impacts other people and they impact us. We impact each other with our energy frequency, our vibration, and everything else. We can't not do that, if that makes
Mm.
sense. So we're
Yeah.
always impacting each other. When we get in touch with our own values, what we believe are important, our values of kindness, our values of compassion, our values of joy. I mean, we undervalue joy. I can't even tell you how I would say the majority of people on this planet undervalue joy and
Oh.
fun and lightheartedness.
Oh, we need it. It's to me part of the secret ingredient of life.
It's the secret ingredient. It's one of the
Mhm.
secret ingredients. That's
Mm.
exactly right. And so when we set, when we first get in touch with those values, right, and then identify them, right, and then share them with someone, then they know that if they're going to be cruel or mean, that value is going to touch us and impact us in a certain
Mhm.
way. When we get clear on what our values are, then we start attracting those kinds of people that have similar values.
Right.
And when
Exactly.
we're not clear, somebody else can impose their values and their way unto us. It's
Mm.
like this, and we've talked about symbols, and I'm a big fan of symbols.
The remote control for those
Remote
just listening.
control.
Yeah.
The remote
Mm-hmm.
control is when we give this remote control to someone else to determine our sense
Mm-hmm.
of well-being in our little corner of the world, right? Then we're opening up ourselves for judgment, for
Mm-hmm.
criticism, and we have a tendency to dim ourself down for the sake of someone else.
Mm. Yeah.
But we do that.
Yeah, we
And
do.
when someone's more powerful, more forceful, more louder, more, authoritative, when we hear authority, man, I mean, look at what happens in our world. They go for authority, someone to lead them, someone to tell them what to do and what to think, how
Mm.
to be.
That's not good.
And what I'm saying is it's important to set healthy boundaries of who you are and how you want to be in the world so that you start attracting that back into your life instead of giving in to those who are more forceful than we are
I,
to
I
make
really
them
agree with
happy.
this because I'm going back to the garden
Go back.
because I think the garden, we talked about that about spring a year or so ago, about cultivating your garden, right? Like kind of looking at what you're planting in there. Are you planting things that bring in the birds that you want to see and provide you joy? Are you planting things that bring in the bees that help humanity and nature? Are you planting things that bring you joy through color and the scent that, like lilacs in spring, all of that. So are we planting those things? So it's actually about giving, and then symbiosis happens. I look in nature as always a thing, right? So in nature, symbiosis is like a shark and a remora fish. The remora fish is tiny but lives on a shark. And what does it do? It feeds off the shark, but it's cleaning the shark. The shark needs the remora needs the shark. But there's a healthy boundary in that the shark doesn't eat the remora stays out of its way. It doesn't get in its way if it's hunting or whatever. So they have these healthy boundaries, but at first glance, you're like, what the heck is that fish? Is it nuts? No, it's eating. The shark is happy. It's getting a bath. You see hippos and you see like buffalo in the African,
Mm,
watering hole, like covered in mud, and you'll see an oxpecker bird on it. And you're going, don't you know that hippo or that buffalo, same because they sit on hippos too. Even a crocodile they'll sit on. You nuts? No, it's getting the ticks off of it, and the animals know these birds are sitting there pecking off the ticks and the flies for me. This is my, insect repellent, and it helps me so I'm not so itchy. And the
right,
birds feeding, and they become friends. It's
right.
symbiosis. Yeah, once in a while, like
Exactly.
a crocodile will take a bird out for sure, but that's a little annoying for it instead of taking what it's used to.
Yeah.
So it's like you can have symbiosis with opposites. Like my friend who doesn't like my language, I have respect for her. Now she comes over to my house and I drop a couple words. She's in my zone. But I also, just out of respect, if I know a friend doesn't like something and I
Exactly.
really don't need to do it, it's not like if a friend said, okay, I only want you to believe in this religion
Right.
or in this way. That's different.
Right.
Colorful language,
Yeah. That's a
that's a,
choice.
you don't need it. That's a choice, and that's just
Choice.
silliness,
And
right?
it's part of personality or
It's
whatever.
a luxury. It's a
Yeah,
luxury. It's
whatever.
not a necessity.
Ex-
Well, I don't
Well,
know.
sometimes it is, but it's a
Sometimes it
necessity
is.
to you. It's a necessity
Yeah.
to
So
me.
I
It's
just,
not
I
a
like the
necessity to someone else.
Yeah, it's kind of if you look at where you plant plants in your garden,
Yeah.
you may plant them next to a fence because they need that little bit of, so there's
Support.
your boundary, that support against the wind.
And that is a really good point because limitations are important to a certain degree. They give us something to butt up against. Sometimes like
Hmm.
ivy or some of those crawling plants, they don't do it in the air. They need a wall, they need a fence,
Hmm.
they need something to support them so that they can get their roots in and then grow and, take over.
And
But
that gives us privacy.
and that gives us privacy too. So there's all kinds of benefits and there's an honor when we identify, I believe when we identify our boundary, we call it a boundary, maybe it's a value, maybe it's a preference of the way in which
Mhm.
we want to be in life. You know, we want to be this way. We don't want to be sarcastic. We don't like sarcastic things. We don't,
I
um,
do.
huh? What?
I do. I like
Oh,
sarcastic
well,
humor.
I'm just saying
Yeah,
if
yeah.
that's one of the things that we're
Yeah.
not, that offends us, or if somebody's sarcastic and they use somebody else for their sarcasm and it's
Oh,
cruel,
that's mean. Yeah.
then there's a boundary. I mean, you know, everything has a limit and everything has, but I believe we all need those. Why? Because we're born with them. We
Mm.
are born in a womb. We are born with somebody hugging
Skin.
every part of us.
We have skin
And,
that's a boundary.
and we have skin that's a boundary. That keeps everything in. It keeps everything in. And so I think it's a natural thing to have boundaries. It's having healthy boundaries.
Mm.
Why are
Yeah.
we having the healthy boundaries? What does that even mean? And how do you do that with another human being that has all kinds of different ideas,
Mm.
different thoughts, different preferences? We all have preferences.
Mm.
How do you merge those and how do you cohabitate like that little bird and the alligator or the crocodile or the buffalo
Mm.
or the hippo? How do we do that?
Bring the hippo back in.
No,
What's
right,
in? Well, no, but I think this is really huge because if you think they talk about people having thick skin, well, they just decided what's going to offend them or not. Like they decided, am I going to let this affect me? We've talked about this with people with road rage. Are you going to react to the road rage? Or are you going to use your mind to just go, let me keep going and maneuver on? Because as
yeah,
you say in your article, we're humans, and that means we make mistakes all the time.
all the time.
We're imperfect, right? But
Totally.
um, so the thick skin thing I want to go to, but I also want to go to the fact that as in parenting, I feel like boundaries are like self-discipline in a way, so that you can actually have joy. Like if someone's calls you, we've all got had that in our lives where you have a friend that calls every night at 9 o'clock and starts whining for 2 hours on something that they've never fixed, and it's annoying. And now it's starting to suck the life out of you. That's an energy vampire. They suck. Why have your friend like they're just using and using and sucking the living daylights out of you.
The
Has this
straw. Oh,
happened to
I'm
me
gonna put a
recently?
straw in the kit. A straw. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I know it's like, you know, so eventually you don't want to help those people anymore because they actually need to go and do the fall down at that point, right? Because you've
Mhm.
already given the advice, they ignore the advice, and all they want to do is whine, whine, whine. Now, a boundary would be, 9 o'clock. I have a TV show I watch. I don't care what it is. I read a book. I am not doing this because it's now negatively affecting me. And
Right.
it's you can do it in a polite way,
Yeah,
and you're allowed to take back your reserves
of course.
because this goes back to reserves, how much we have.
Right,
We do
right,
it with our kids. We teach them, do not touch the stove when it's hot.
right,
That's a boundary. All
right.
of this is protection.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
No, that's a very, very good point because when, and that's what I mean about dimming our light, when we make ourselves less important than them, even in those moments where they're whining, right? And they're
Oy.
going on and on and on about
Oh,
it, like,
God.
oh, for God's sakes,
Cry me a
And
river.
exact whatever it is, it's like it's tiring and it is blood sucking and it's spirit killing too. And so a healthy boundary would be not to do that. And like
Mm.
you said, um, I'm glad that you feel safe in calling me and sharing with me what it is that you're doing. And I just, for me, and this is a way you can either do it or not do it. For me, it's a little tiring
Yeah.
and my energy um feels depleted. And
So you've
so
been saying straight up honesty.
I
Yeah.
do. I have a friend who I needed to tell that to, that
Mm.
you have a neediness that is bigger than even being conscious of how I'm feeling about how I'm receiving whatever it is you're saying.
Mm.
It's almost like you don't care about me. You just care about you, which is fine. But now I need to care about me equal as much as you care about you.
Ooh.
So
Mm. I can't be what you want me to be.
in this moment, I'm not able to hear you. I'm not able to really pay attention to you because I'm preoccupied. And when
Mm,
I speak to you, I want to be present, but I'm not being present. So maybe
mm,
we can talk another time.
mm. We have to have that in communication with Nancy and I in this in our business. It's nonstop. It's
Yeah,
fast, 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 right?
yeah, exactly.
And things are always like, oh, this, unless it's an emergency or something that really has to happen, you don't
Yeah,
interrupt the other person because you could lose a whole section of a website, you could lose a page you're working on, you could lose a podcast, you could, you click the button in the wrong way and you have to start over, then the language comes out. And my friend doesn't live with us, thank goodness. But
yeah,
but we have this thing. I can't right now. As soon as I'm done, so I can actually hear you. We've had to learn
exactly.
that trait.
So you
So we
say
didn't
that to
interrupt
your
each other.
friend.
Yeah, we've learned
We
that. Yeah.
say that to our friends. And actually, when I shared that with her, and I said that it feels very one way, that you are sharing your energy with me and you want something from me. You want something from me, but you're not taking any time to give
Mm,
something.
mm,
What
that's
is it
interesting.
that you want to give?
Mm,
And I remind
yeah.
my clients too, when they say, this one did this one did that, he said this, he said that. Well, what are you bringing? What are you giving into the relationship?
Hmm.
What are you doing? What's your part in it? We all have a part. And if we have a friend that you are going to spend those times with, and allow that friend to invade that space of yours that we
God,
talked
you just
about.
hope you're not living next door to them. You get those neighbors. Like,
Yes,
God.
you know, but it's setting healthy boundaries.
Hmm.
And it can
Yes.
be honest in a loving
Hmm.
way.
Hmm.
I mean, what else is there but have an authentic, real relationship with another human being? Well, that's
Hmm.
interesting because isn't it, or even you don't have to take the personal in it. Isn't it interesting when sometimes human beings they talk and talk and they complain and they whine, but they don't do anything about it. Don't you find that fascinating? And that's okay. If you want to stay and be miserable and
Yeah.
justify it every time we talk about it, just know that you're doing that.
That you're allowed to vent once. That's kind of my thing. And
Oh, only
you can
once. Okay.
vent. It's a vent. You
Uh-huh.
need to. Something happens,
Yeah.
you need to talk it out, vent, maybe cry. Maybe you get a second chance, third on it. Once it's hit the three, my patience is none. Not like if you haven't done anything grief is different. Grief is grief. Grief is really finicky and
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Has its own personality.
that's a whole other world, and everybody's
It is.
different with whatever's going on. But I mean, there's just people who do this nonstop and never take those steps. And so I personally do not have the that I'm a very, very patient person, but when it comes to someone not taking steps and all they're doing is whining, I'm now at this point where I do not have time. I don't have time to listen to, I don't watch movies, the same movie 10 times. I
Mm-hmm.
don't reread. I should reread things, but it's like the only thing I put on repeat is music, right? And so I don't want something negative rerunning itself in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be there for a friend for sure. Like my best friend and I, we talk once a month. We always set a date. Something comes up for me, something comes up for her. We immediately let each other know. We move on because we all know we're both very career driven, family driven.
Right. Right.
So when we talk, because we're in different countries too,
Right.
it's what is important to you, what's important to you right now, what's going on. We check in
Right.
on each other's family, how everyone's doing, and we move on. We laugh, and we also know if anything happens where we're upset or anything, we know we can call each other.
Yeah.
But no whining is allowed. It's like, what are you doing to get out? What do you need help with? How can I help you?
Okay. So here's a way to be able to set up a relationship, even the one that's whining. Because if you're tolerating or enduring the one that's whining, there's some need in you to hear whatever it is that she's whining about.
Mm. That's interesting.
And you're
Yeah.
seeing it in someone else, and you don't have to take responsibility for it because you get to see it in her or him.
Ooh.
And they're whining about it, and you may be wanting to whine about it, but you don't.
Hmm. That's interesting.
They're actually expressing things that you may be feeling, but you're not
Mhm.
saying
Ah,
or sharing.
yeah.
Now, when you start a new relationship with someone, you can set up, and I suggest that people set up a set of agreements with each other in a new relationship.
Ah.
You know, okay, human to human, we're going to approach this relationship from
Mm-hmm.
one human being to another, not woman, woman, man, woman,
Yeah, yeah.
husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend,
Colleague.
colleague, employee,
Oh, that's a big one.
not any of those roles, but one human being to another. Now, what does
Mm.
that mean? It means that all human beings do all kinds of things. When we hold the space for each other to be
Yeah.
human and have those human experiences, and you have to have, well, have to, see, I always catch myself in words. You get to have a different kind of relationship when you set these kinds of agreements or healthy boundaries up.
Mm. I
Because
like
then
this.
it's like your friend, your best friend. You know, and I have best friends for life. I call them
Yeah.
friends for life.
Yes, yes,
For
that's what I
life,
mean.
we have a certain agreement with each other. There's a permission to say anything we need to say,
Oh, thank
anything.
you, Lord.
And thank God for that.
Yes.
Because if we didn't have a place to
Yeah.
be able to say anything we want to say and share any whine we have to whine, any complaint we need to complain,
Yep. We have a
any bad
complaint zone.
feeling, whatever that is,
Mm-hmm.
then there's a freedom to be human
Mm-hmm.
without judgment. Stepping back and saying, as I said, wow, isn't the human being an interesting
Mm-hmm.
experience?
Yep.
Isn't being human fascinating? I have a friend who broke
Yep.
her heel. Her heel shattered into pieces because she
Oh,
fell.
God. Ooh.
She's been on her back for like 9 weeks
She
because,
gets to whine every day. She's allowed.
you know, and when she first told me about it, and I said to her, wow, isn't that fascinating? She said, well, I don't know if I'd call it fascinating, but I said, now your human experience right now is you recently
Changed.
retired. You recently retired. You thought you'd have the whole summer to be free, right? And and you got unemployment right before you retired, right? You got unemployment and you were free to do all these things, and now you're in bed for 9 weeks. Isn't that a fascinating dichotomy? Well,
Perhaps life needed her to
wow,
take us some sleep.
she needed to slow down. Sometimes we don't get the
Mm.
message.
I had a car accident, and that was the message.
There you go.
It was like I had a series of things where I was going too fast, and then things started to like do that, and it was a cycle of three. And I went, okay, I get the message. And I also had like dreams of my Nana a lot. And I went, are you trying to tell me something in my dreams? And she's like, oh, yes, I am, little Missy. Hello. You need, and so these three things happened: fire, accident, broken arm with the rod in it. Yeah. And
Exactly.
then I said, okay, I'm done with it. And as soon as I said, I'm done with all of that, we're going to calm down.
Well, now you see what you just did. We're done with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That is a healthy boundary.
Mm-hmm.
When you set them up for yourself
Mm.
and you say, you know what, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to slow down. Healthy boundaries really have nothing to do
Mm.
with anybody else.
And it is, that's what I was saying. It's about knowing who you are. Like that to me is the thing. It's like the remora fish knows what to do with the shark. It knows what
Right,
it's doing. The shark knows what that's doing, and they live
right,
together.
right.
Like through all going all over the oceans, moving around. I mean, I don't know if the remora hangs on if Jaws goes after people on the beach, but like hey, go
right,
get this one on the left. I don't know what it
right,
does, but it is, I feel it's about taking action in yourself. Like someone who's
yeah,
whining over and over, like I cannot stand that. I know people watch soap operas for a reason. Like you're saying, you're in, there's that interest of a person to hear what you're not whining about. I think that's why people watch soap operas, is that there's the drama and it's there,
you're
you know?
following someone else's drama.
Yeah. So it's
You're
a
learning
release.
through their drama
It's a
how to
release in a
be and
weird
how
way.
not to be.
Yeah. And I don't know, it's like maybe like with, my friend, was talking about we're on a time limit. And so we get to it and we can say whatever we want. We can look what we look like. It doesn't matter if I'm sitting in the bathtub, it doesn't matter what, I mean, I've talked to her from a swamp. It didn't matter. She's like, "Oh, cool. Where are you now?" But, it doesn't,
Hey,
it's that,
it's
but
not
it is
about
about
that.
it's so focused about caring for each other,
That's right.
and it changes lives,
That's,
literally. So
yeah,
that when you're with someone, like it's almost like setting a boundary for yourself going into a relationship, not just about what you want, but setting a boundary for it successfully so that you say, hey, you've got to step back too. You have to create a boundary of your stuff, your
right,
baggage, so
right.
that that person can be in that. You're saying, okay, I'm opening my space. You talk about that, the wavy arm, 6 feet thing. Here's the space. All right, come through the garden gate. You're in my gate now, so I'm hosting you, right? So that means you get to be my guest. So it can't be just all about me and my house and my fabulous garden, which is fabulous right now. I'm just saying it is. Look at my tulips behind
I
me. Don't
know
you
they're
think I did
beautiful.
good?
They don't even
It's a
look
perfect
real.
season for them, isn't it? But and you can change your garden out all the time you want,
There
too.
you go. There you go. That's right.
Yeah, but what do you think about that part about being kind of a you have to learn as the kind of host you are. Like people know when they come, like when Nancy and I, had a house and we weren't traveling full time, they come over, like we'll make food or whatever, but it's not going to be like we are just kind of make yourselves at home. You want
Hmm.
a glass of wine? Feel free to just go get a glass of wine.
Hmm.
You know, we're here to have a experience together, not about,
Well,
we'll
that's it.
watch out. Do you know what I mean? So we let people know when they come in the house,
Yeah.
this is the house rules.
Yeah. It's a free for all.
It is.
Free for all, Lisa.
It
Not
is, but that
Nancy.
means
Free
we're
for all.
we're picky about who comes over too. We're
Oh, there
very
you
picky
go.
about who comes over.
That's
Yeah,
good.
we are actually, especially
Uh-huh.
because of animals and stuff like that. We've always been picky about who comes over
Yeah.
to
Well,
our
that's
house.
understandable. Yeah, that's true. That's understandable.
Hmm. Yeah.
So when we allow ourselves to honor our own boundary, our own everything, whatever those things are, honor our kindness, honor our, for the highest and greatest good. I believe this, for the highest and greatest good, when we hold that in our daily life of what we choose and how we set our parameters and our boundaries, and we bring love again, it goes back to bring love into your experience, bring authenticity into your experience, bring the softness. I mean, we can
Mm.
pierce each other's ego with the heart if we allow it to be so.
Mm.
What I mean by that
Ooh.
is when somebody is being too needy and they're a friend and they
Yeah.
need to have this awakening and understanding of themselves that it's a little too much now. Your neediness is really getting too much and it's spilling into other people's arena, especially
Mm.
mine. And it makes me not want to answer the phone when you call.
This is why caller ID was invented. See, and then we start distancing. How many people just answer the phone if they don't know who's calling?
No, not anymore. Not
But that's
anymore.
because of this.
Yeah.
And spam callers, obviously. But
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
of but yeah, so if you tell someone that, that's pretty much a blow, but it's almost a wake up. It's kind of tough love, right? So,
If
mm,
you have that kind of agreement, now you don't go in
mm,
always and tell everybody everything. When you don't have that kind of agreement with each
mm.
other
And it's a step-by-step
and
process.
you
And sometimes
ask
it
for
just,
permission,
yeah,
may
yeah.
I share with you my experience of you.
Oh.
This particular scenario. May I share with you my experience?
Mm.
It's only my experience, but I'd like to share it with
Well,
you because I love you. I
yeah, that's
care about
powerful.
you. I care about you, and I want to have a deep relationship with you. Now, if you do not want to have a deep relationship with someone,
Don't do
then you don't open that door.
it. Mm.
And maybe you're just but you can still say something. I'm not as available for you as I'd like to be.
Mm-hmm.
So, if I'm not calling you, it's I'm not available all the time right now. I'm very busy or whatever. But even that, when we say that, it makes them feel like, well, I'm not that important to you. And maybe they're not. Maybe they're not in that inner
Mm-hmm.
circle of yours where you have your buddies, all
Mm-hmm.
your compadres and your posse
Yeah.
and whatever, and they're on the outer circle. That's okay. We can't be have the same kind of relationship with everybody, but we can in quality. And
Yes.
we can in quality. It may not be the quantity of time, but the quantity of time doesn't matter.
Mm.
Just like you said, your best friend, you talk every month, and if you can't, you don't. And it's not like,
Oh,
oh,
we make it a
you haven't called me in but
no, no,
okay,
we
you
take
don't
it as
do that.
the next available thing. And like I said, if we needed to talk in between that month,
We could
we
do
put
it.
it on there so it happens.
Yeah,
So it doesn't slip by because we're so busy and I travel.
exactly.
She does too. So we just make sure it happens.
Exactly.
It's a
Exactly.
goal. What that's really interesting. With a set of friends who were close, really close, but it was almost like you have to go to every little thing. And we actually just can't. And got mad when we went on the road, got mad with us. And Nancy had this when she left the States to move to Kenya. She had a friend who said to her, well, I'll never be friends with you again. And she goes, what do you mean? Just because I'm moving to Kenya, friendship is, no, because you won't come to my dinner parties and stuff like that now. So we're not friends. And swear to God, that was it. And then she's like, damn, that's wild. I thought,
Well, see how
and
human behavior is?
yeah, and that happened when we went on tour, when
Yeah.
we first went on the road, and we had to pack up everything. We gave everything away. It was a very emotionally deadlined, it was nuts, to be honest. And we couldn't do certain things with these friends. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, I see what's going on. They count like how many times you go and do this and that. And they said, oh, we review as a couple, we review our friends every year how much they mean to us or not. And they have like a review process. And if you don't keep with it, they get rid of you. And when they do it, they're nasty. And I thought, we're on the outs. And honestly, we brought them lunch to say goodbye. We're on the road the next day. And they wouldn't even go help themselves to the lunch at their place. It was so odd. And I was like, well, what are we waiting for? And I was like, you know what? I brought brie cheese and I love brie and grapes. I'm taking this stuff with us. I'm leaving with my brie. And we saw him a few times, but it never was the same.
Yeah.
And that's just like, if you don't go according, and that's fine. It kind of is their boundary. Like, I respect that.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't review friendship by physically having to be there all the time.
Right. Right.
But
Now,
that's me. See?
right. But then you find out who who are your friends in the way that you can do friendship in that
Yeah.
friend for life definition. Who can hold the space for you equally as you hold for them without judgment? Who can do that? Who can
Yeah.
be intimate with what we feel on a very deep level? I mean, there are some friends who we don't go that deep with, and there are some
Yeah.
friendships that alter and change that
Mm-hmm.
you don't go that deep with anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
It used to
That's
be one
life.
way and it's a different way, and it just means accepting that that's part of being human. It's part of the human behavior, and that's
Mm.
okay. It doesn't mean you have to hate that person, you know. But if their values aren't in alignment with our values, then we just don't spend as much time with them in our lives. It's just a
Mm-hmm.
different kind of experience. But we allow for the different range of emotions that we have. We allow for it because we're human.
Mm-hmm.
Look at each other and we learn so much from the other person going through whatever they're going through. And if we allow it and we have this agreement that we're an open book with each other, that we're intimate, that we are vulnerable, that we say the things we really feel,
Mm-hmm. Respectfully too.
and respectfully, with respect
Mm-hmm.
and regard and honor and love. If you bring all those things to the table, how can you go wrong?
Exactly. It is the authenticity and the honesty. And why do you want to be in relationships?
Yeah,
Sometimes people go into relationships out of not a uh not morally correct without, it's their, the like people in
not
a
a moral
company.
compass, you mean?
Yeah, they're using people for certain things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
You
then
know what
those
I mean?
values are not in alignment. So you can't hang
Exactly.
out with
That's the
those
thing.
kind of people.
Right. So you have to have the people that your values are aligned with, and
That's right.
like and that to me is the, like, so how
Yeah,
our language is doesn't matter. That's the moral values. Religions don't matter. Political parties even don't matter to me. It's about how we treat each other and the care and the love and the support and the respect,
that's
you
exactly
know?
right.
So yeah, no, I love this topic. We could talk about it for 10 years, but I
I
think we
know.
covered it.
Yeah. Yeah, we did. Good
I
job.
think
We
we
did good
did
job.
good. We did
Yeah,
good.
I
Miss
agree.
Shelley, always, always a pleasure. Everyone, every first Sunday, Miss Shelley Whizin is here and we're soul diving. And we did go diving. We played with sharks and remora fish.
We
We
did.
went gardening. And
Yeah,
by the way, just going on this, think about it, companion planting. You plant certain plants next to each other because they thrive. And if you plant certain plants next to each other and they don't like each other, then butterflies and bees and all the things that you love in the garden don't happen. So find your companion, you
yeah.
know. And by the way, August is Friendship Month. So I think this is a good theme.
Perfect.
How about that?
Well, we could talk about friends for life forever, as far as I'm concerned.
Me too, because
Yeah,
God, do you need them, man? Don't lock
yeah,
yourself off in a box. There's
yeah,
not, because
definitely.
none of us do anything in the world alone.
That's right.
I try. I think I'm better at things, but that doesn't work. Everyone, ShelleyWizin.com. See you
Thank
next
you.
Sunday. Thanks,
Okay.
Shelley.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Big Blend Radio's Soul Diving Sunday show featuring transformational life coach Shelley Whizin. Follow Shelley at ShelleyWhizin.com. Follow us at BigBlendRadio.com.